Lethal Torrent is a completely unnecessary mod that needs to be removed. And here's why. A long time ago, I made a video talking about how secondaries are in a really weird spot where the amount of mods you need to make a weapon viable really hampers their ability to have any sort of variety, and I still hold true to that. I think it's a little less extreme than I made of an example back then, but overall it still feels like secondaries have this really unnecessary amount of mod investment required to make them good, so it leaves very little room to diversify or make anything unique or some little alleviation to another part of a weapon that would otherwise, another weapon wouldn't need that, like low ammo count. So you have the Exilus mods that give you more ammo maximum, but because the modding system for secondaries is so tight on what you need to put on there, it's really difficult for a weapon that's less effective than the meta or something that's like just a perfect example of power creep. It's really hard for those weapons to keep up, especially things like, you know, the Axani or the Lex, especially the Lex. So here's a proposed fix on how we can make this just a little bit better without completely breaking the meta or the game. And this fix is remove Lethal Torrent. It has absolutely no reason to exist on its own. And let me clarify, I'm not talking like just removing it entirely and getting rid of the multi-shot and fire rate bonuses that it gives. What I'm suggesting is take those bonuses and either innately put them on all of the weapons, just blanket that 60% multi-shot and fire rate bonus on every single secondary in the game so you don't need it anymore. Or, and I think this would be a much better option, take those bonuses and add them to diffusion or galvanized diffusion or one other mod that we always use, one other staple mod that is required to make a weapon good. And I'm not talking Hornet Strike. Just make sure that those bonuses are attached to multi-shot related mods that already exist. For example, diffusion or galvanized diffusion. There is no reason that we need 2 mod slots for multi-shot when rifles or any other class only has 1. And there's a specific example of possibly replacing Lethal Torrent with the Vacor Marlock, and here's what that looks like. Although I still think that the fire rate is far too needed for that to be a viable option, and that's one example in the entire game. Why we have 3 slots that are filled out for secondaries just to make a weapon do any amount of damage past the normal star chart, or even sometimes in the normal star chart, is just ridiculous. It doesn't need to have this honestly arbitrary need for a weapon to have the multi-shot and crit and damage and all this other stuff, and then just slap the rest of that into a separate mod, a third mod that is a strict requirement for every secondary in the game, and with little deviation. If you don't have Lethal Torrent on there, then the weapon is just less effective. So with this change, I genuinely think it would not break the game to simply change Lethal Torrent to do something else and add the bonuses that Lethal Torrent gave to another mod that already gives multi-shot. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.